So I hope to introduce my understanding and my research results from following three aspects. So firstly, maybe you would be interested to know the origin and the connotation about ecological security and ecological security of metropolises from a global perspective. The theme of today's lecture is urban ecology and urban ecological security, which are very hot words in our society today. And my professional research as well as teaching direction have been striving for many years. At this time, thousands of imagination would appear in your mind, such as like this, or like this. Maybe you would have so many questions about urban ecological security. Is it a green earth or undulating mountains and rivers, the city in the garden, or garden in the city, or the running water, green mountains, and the home yard you can see, and you can remember your homesickness with climate even covered. Is it the roads and streets in our city, or the beautiful sea view in Victoria Ports and Victoria Bay? Is it the heat wave of El Nino amid global climate change, or the flooding caused by La Nina and extreme heavy rains? Okay, the wildfire in the mountains, environment pollution, and public health damage caused by PM 2.5 non-radio transmission. The fact of climate change told us today climate warming is spreading. The temperature becomes higher and higher, especially in summertime. My research group and our colleagues have published some papers to describe the phenomenon of climate change. As mentioned about the impact of urban growth on climate change, UN Department of Economic and Social Affairs pointed out that 63% of the world's population lives in the cities today, and the global urbanization ratio is expected to reach 70% by 2050, with nearly 90% of this growth coming from Asia and Africa. As mentioned about the impact of energy consumption, the International Energy Agency estimated that global urban energy consumption will rise to 3/4 by 2030, and that 76% of the carbon dioxide emissions generated from energy consumption will come from our cities. Now, can we see the impact of carbon dioxide emissions? At present time, China's carbon dioxide emissions are 12.1 billion tons at the present time, which accounting for 45% of the world. Per capita energy consumption has reached 2 tons of stand coal per year. The global energy consumption will increase by 70% on the current basis by the year 2030. Another factor told us the wildfire taking place in recent years. For example, Amazon rainforest fire for 3 weeks. The truth is dumbfounded. Since 2021, the heavy rains in Zhengzhou and other places, and extreme cold weathers in North America. Another factor told us rapid urbanization has brought about an increased ecological footprint. which would occupy so many land resources and has a higher impact to our environmental quality. Maybe you will have some questions about what are the reasons and the scientific mechanisms behind this phenomenon. First question would be, how do this phenomena lead to the ecological changes? The second question would be, what are the ecological security risks and countermeasures for these events? According to our research from SciSpace, ecological security issues included climate change, environmental pollution, higher carbon dioxide emission, fast urbanization, biological invasion, population booming, land desertification, and forest degradation, and so on. So we need to understand from the sake of my presentation, it's about the exploration and the coalition, which I would introduce some models from the worldwide about the no carbon city to tank with climate change. Hello. Under the background of climate change, many international metropolises have developed the low carbon development model. What's the meaning or what's the concept of low carbon city? It refers to the city can maintain the energy consumption and the carbon emissions at a lower level in the premise of economic development, which means this model can maintain the balance of economic growth and keeps the environmental quality, keeps the balance, especially ecological balance. So many scholars from worldwide have carried out research on the development economy, energy, traffic, spatial structure, community, lifestyle, planning, policy, and management essential of low carbon city. Low carbon development requires for the fields, including the production, construction, life, and ideology of low carbon. The leading world cities have put forward the major strategies of ecological security, guarantee, and ecological restoration. For example, New York, London, Rotterdam, New Orleans, Tokyo, Hong Kong, and Shanghai, and so on. So all of the cities are located at the very important or special geographic position, which is a kind of estuary area. The estuary is the most sensitive area of global climate change. The ecosystem is very fragile and is subject to the dual stress of human activities and climate change. In responses to climate change, these typical global estuary cities are constantly exploring the top-level strategies and the implementation process to improve their adaptation, resilience, biodiversity, and navigable, and enhance the core competitiveness of the cities. So many of the cities carry out both adaptation and mitigation. Some of cities have carried out strategies such as adaptation and so on. It is a scientific basis to understand the low carbon development model under climate change impact. So in detail, we need to understand some models are carried out in different estuary cities or regions. For example, there is a British model, which means low carbon city action to cope with climate change. Britain is a pioneer of planning and practice for low carbon city. In order to permit Britain's fast transformation to a low-carbon economy or low-carbon society, the British government set up the Carbon Trust Foundation and the Energy Saving Foundation in the year 2001, jointly to promote the British low-carbon city project. The second example is London. Okay, London is located in the Thames estuary. This city had put forward the objectives. This city hoped to reduce 60% of GHG, which means greenhouse gas, released by the year 2025, based on the level of the year 2006. The no carbon capital and mitigation are principal responses strategies, which covers the detailed countermeasures such as low carbon economy, low carbon energy, family energy saving, low carbon readiness, zero carbon capital construction, and so on. How about the models in North America? American model is a very important countermeasures recent years, which means they carry out the action plan for low carbon city, such as the United States claimed through technical way to solve climate change issues. So here, technical way is very important countermeasures. They carry out a car energy saving, which is considered as the main aspect of energy saving. In addition, the United States coped with vigorously climate warming by a series of energy conservation and environmental protection measures under the financial crisis to bring the organization and influence of Obama's government strategies. The low carbon emission reduction has become the most important development strategy. Now, we can have some examples in Hudson Estuary. New York City is located in this area. So New York City had put forward the target to reduce the carbon dioxide emission, and carry out strategies such as adaptation, which covers some detailed countermeasures. For example, protected the water sources, reduce the water demanding, and carry out the flooding control, and carry out the water treatment, water quality engineering, and carry out the strategies such as energy saving. There is a very famous examples in Mississippi estuary. The city is called New Orleans. This city had been attacked by Hurricane Katrina in the year 2005. After then, the city think about they need to carry out both countermeasures of adaptation and mitigation, and has carried out the 5 steps plan, which covers the detailed countermeasures such as carbon emission inventory, reduce release plan for the year 2015, local climate act, and policy and countermeasures, as well as developed some monetary network. After then, international society has paid much more attention to the new model of urban development, such as sport city. Now, this is some examples, such as French model. France had taken up the countermeasures such as urban energy saving, and paid much more attention to the development of wind power. The French government enacted the number 2005-781 law in July 2005 and established the wind development as French energy development strategy. The French government has set up a regulation of wind power into national power grid in July 2006 in order to ensure the normally market development. So this is tremendous development in wind power capacity. How about the models in Denmark? So this country had carried out the urban energy saving by taking the energy saving strategy for the pilot. The Danish government attaches the importance to national energy strategy planning and energy development strategy objectives under the guidance of energy policy and energy utilization we change. It has established the clear incentive mechanisms of energy saving and pay attention to the management of energy use process and energy strategy implementation. And then we can see there are another model, which is in Rotterdam, are very famous. So Rotterdam had put forward the objectives during past years. This city helped to reduce 50% of GHG released by the year 2025 based on the NEVER 1990. And then the city had put forward the target such as zero carbon city. Zero carbon city is not easy, okay? So they have carried out mitigation as a response strategy. We know mitigation is much more positive countermeasures to tangle with climate change, which covers the following aspects such as sustainable city plan, land port and carbon trade, sustainable transportation plan, public participation, and innovation laboratory, and so on. Now, we can see the example in Sydney. So this city had put forward the objectives to reduce 70% of GHG release by 2025 based on the NEVER 1990. And also put forward the target to build the city into a kind of zero carbon city. Sydney has set up the detailed countermeasures way, for example, adaptation, which covers reduced GHG release, water saving, waste recycling, green energy, national bicycle strategy, and environmental policy, and so on. Up to now, maybe you would wonder what the Chinese models in the carbon city construction. China has set up the national policies such as low carbon city planning. Although the idea and the practice of eco-city and the low carbon city originate in Western countries, their hotspots have been transferred to China in recent years. The Chinese government plans to develop 15 to 20 low carbon cities in recent years for exploring and establish a development model of low carbon economy in order to promote the carbon dioxide emission reduced to cope with climate change. So the picture on the right, from here you can understand in China there are abundant wind power and solar energy resources. So recent years, there are so many large national projects about the new energy had been developed or supported by our country. So how about the countermeasures in Hong Kong? Well, Hong Kong is located at Pearl River estuary. This is very special and very good position. So Hong Kong has put forward the objectives to reduce 30% of GHG release by 2030, based on the NEVER of 2005. During past years, the state of Hong Kong had put forward the planning and action to tackle with the climate change, such as adaptation. So recent years, the state of Hong Kong has put forward both countermeasures, including adaptation and mitigation. For example, reduce the fossil fuel, develop renewable energy, and to develop green building, reduce transportation carbon release, and run forest, saving energy, especially pay much more attention to the application of MBS, and so on. How about the protection practice in Shanghai? Although Shanghai is also a kind of estuary city. It is located in Yangtze River estuary. This city has put forward objectives to reduce 45% of GHG released by 2025 based on the level of 2005 and pay much attention to the low carbon city and the resilient city. We had carried out the strategy such as adaptation. Recent years, our government and all publics paid much more attention to the both countermeasures, including adaptation and mitigation. For example, we carry out the policy to support green development, water saving, waste recycling, green energy, and environmental policy, and so on. So City of Shanghai has selected so many international metropolises as a target. For example, London, New York, Tokyo, Hong Kong, Singapore, Paris. And then we hope to carry out the advanced experience to tackle with climate change. The third one of my presentation, maybe you will be very interested to learn some policies and countermeasures to tackle with climate change. And now we hope to focus our discussion about policies and countermeasures of green development based on MBS model. So MBS means nature-based resolution process. Maybe you would wonder, what is the nature-based solutions? MBS are actions for spatial challenges that are inspired by process and the functioning of nature. By developing and implementing solutions that are supported by nature, resilience is achieved where produce society, environment, and economic benefits. So MBS can be functioning in various environments, including coastal, freshwater, and urban settings. More information about nature-based solutions, go to our resources table. Okay. Now, we can understand in much more details MBS policies and countermeasures for biodiversity conservation. The focus of green development in the whole society is mainly on the protection of biodiversity, which is intended to protect the Earth of human existence and our common future. So these two pictures show you the hot sites of biodiversity distributed in the world. The picture on the right shows you the biodiversity protection levels in whole China. Okay, we need to understand some general characteristics of species diversity in China. Early in 1990, biodiversity experts ranked China's biodiversity the Earth among the 12 richest countries in the world. especially in the northern hemisphere. China has the most abundant biodiversity. So here we have some numbers, okay, to describe the characteristic of biodiversity in China. As mentioned about the number of fish, birds, and mammals, which are ranked among the top in the world. As mentioned about the moss, furs, and the seed plants, which are ranking third in the world. The number of gymnosperms ranking first in the world. There are more than 10,000 endemic and rare species. In short, the characteristics of biodiversity in China are as follows. Firstly, highly abundant species. China has more than 30,000 species of higher plants, second only to Brazil and Colombia, the most abundant higher plants in the world. The second characteristic is unique genera and species. China has the most endemic plants in China, but 1,700 species accounting for more than 57% of the higher plants in China. And there are other famous characteristics such as ancient origin of flora, cultivation plants, domestic animals, and their wide relatives of germ plasma resources is very rich. And rich ecosystem types. China has various types of terrestrial ecosystems, including forests, shrubs, grasslands, the savannas, meadows, deserts, alpine tundras, and central. And then the sixth characteristic is the special part of a haven and the complete diversity, like the table show you on the right. On the following pictures. So these different pictures show you the species richness, the ecological services value distribution, and the human disturbance, and so on. So especially we can get some information from the picture on the red corner. So this map shows you ecosystem value with a higher biodiversity value in whole China. Okay, at the same time, China is facing some challenges of issues in biodiversity conservation. For example, species diversity is threatened by human activity, by environmental pollution and ecosystem degradation, and so on. And then genetic diversity is at risk, and our ecosystem diversity is at risk in different levels. In cope with to solve or treatment of environmental issues, China has put forward some national policies and carried out some national actions for biodiversity conservation. Actually, China's biodiversity conservation strategy and action plan was issued for 2011 up to 2030 and was adopted at the 126 meetings of executive meetings of the State Council in September 2010. The main contents included following detailed countermeasures. And then China has carried out a national policy to develop national parks. So by February 2022, the first number of national parks in the first 10 national parks had made state progress, especially in ecological protection. So this picture shows you the distribution of first group of national parks in China. The purpose of establishing the national park system in China is to protect the authenticity and integrity of the nature ecology and the nature and culture heritage to more strictly protect the important ecosystems, to provide a long-term protection of rare wild animals and plants, and to leave a nature heritage for future generations. So this benefit for sustainability. Okay, this picture shows you the new development of next groups of national parks construction in China. More and more national parks are constructing in different provinces. Okay, now can we discuss the paths and the conditions of green development? Firstly, we think about it is very important to formulate comprehensive protection measures at the different levels, including global, national, and local. International measures are fundamental to conserve to the globally threatened ecosystems, led by World Union for Conservation of Nature, which means IUCN, providing links between non-government activities organizations, government agencies, and different states and provinces. National protection conventions reflected the responsibility of the state, providing a framework for organizing government organization activities, establish local and national nature reserves and national parks, region ecological composition, and habitat management are various means of implementing conservation measures. So local protection measures accounting to local conditions are very benefit. There is a very famous document or collaboration, which was called MAB, Men and Biosphere Programs. It is a large-scale interdisciplinary and comprehensive intergovernment research program launched by UNESCO Science Division in 1971. So China is a member of MAB. We have carried out so many large and national level programs for green development, for biodiversity, conservation, for urban green development and sustainability since 1971. So eco-city movement has been more and more developed since that time. China participated in the program in 1972 and was inactive as a council member. In 1978, it established the National Committee for the People and the Biosphere of the People's Republic of China was established. In China, 10 projects have been included in the MAB program, and 26 nature reserves have joined the World Biosphere Reserve. Okay, here is a list of this nature reserves name, such as Wolong, Dingkushan Mountain, Changbai Mountain, and so on. The picture on the left shows you the China's key ecological protection sites in her country. Then we have had some ecological zoning for the key ecological function zone protection and so on. The Pilot 6 point out Chinese ecosystem research network should be constructed, which is very important. Actually, it had been set up. Since 1988, the Chinese Ecosystem Research Network has set up 44 stations in different ecological zones all over the country. According to our target, there will be 360 national stations will be constructed in the whole country, which will be very important for biodiversity monitoring, nature conservation, and green development, and so on. The second is planning paths of biodiversity conservation. The landscape stability pathway and the focus species pathway are very important. As mentioned about the experience about the nature reservoir and the application of NBS, we have some good examples from Hong Kong. The NBS in Hong Kong has achieved remarkable practice and achievements in many aspects. First is coastal zone ecosystem restoration, and the second is ecological restoration in northern metropolitan area. And the third one is wetlands protection and restoration. And the fourth one is urban green and park construction. And the fifth is environment education and public participation, and so on. Our guests and friends from Hong Kong should be a very good consideration about the Loma Zhou wetland. Okay, how to achieve both the development and environmental protection? Now, let's look at the Loma Zhou wetlands in Hong Kong. On one side is Loma Zhou Port, and another side is Loma Zhou wetland, where migratory birds such as endangered animal, black-faced spoonbill, living here. Loma Zhou branch ports are booming, and migratory birds in the Loma Zhou wetland thriving. Port and wetland are independent and connected with each other. From here, in this area, there are more than 260 birds. Among them, 9% of black-faced bill occupied 9% of the world population. So this is not easy. Yesterday, Professor Yuhong Wang's group and I visited the Longyuan Valley Nature Park. I was deeply impressed by the application of NBS here. There are 3 sub-roles. The first is a visit area. The second is ecological conservation area. The third one is agricultural protection area. We can find so many examples and a case study here about the application of NBS. It is a very good example of importance of NBS to maintain its urban sustainability and so on. And then we have another green corridor pathway. The green corridor approached in mainland of China recent years. Okay, we can find some examples from different cities: Shenzhen, Chengdu, Shanghai, Nanjing, and so on. So based on the continuous line characteristics in the landscape, the green corridor can attract birds to sow tree seeds and develop the plant community in the corridor due to heterogeneity of the nature in the corridor. It is more important for farming. The design and application of a green corridor can adjust the landscape structure to facilitating the flow of species between pitches and between pages and substrates, so as to achieve the purpose of effective biodiversity protection. So up to now, there are about 1,200 kilometers greenway. Is a kind of green corridor in Shanghai had been developed. We have had some target to develop the green corridor up to 2,000 kilometers longer before the year 2035. Here is some pictures to show you the urban ecological network approach in Shanghai. So this is the application of nature-based solution. In other words, under the guise of nature-based solution, we think about green cradle and the ecological pattern are very important to tank with climate change and to improve urban green development. Here is some design of eco-way plan in Shanghai. At the same time, we have developed some key technologies and demonstrations for collaborative platform for urban ecological security. At this time, we think about the big data and AI and VR technologies are very important to support the construction of platform, which will be very good tools and a scientific basis for our urban sustainability. And then we have carried out some strategies such as promoting urban space and ecological restoration from sport city to resilient city and smart city. Maybe you would have some questions about the difference between sport city and resilient city and smart city. Okay, later we can answer these questions. So from ecological reline control to regional ecological restoration of whole terrestrial space. There are so many papers published these years which can describe the meaning of sport city and the resilient city. Here we can find a very good example in Hong Kong. Actually, the city of Hong Kong has planned the target of smart city as a future target, which means we need to set up or application of open data, set up the smart agriculture, smart home, smart education, smart grid, smart energy, smart health, smart mobility, and smart retail, and so on. In other words, smart city should be a kind of a comprehensive concept which should be supported by ecological restoration, by the application of big data, and so on. So ecological restoration is also a very important way to tank with climate change and to support our smart city construction and the resilient city construction. So recent years, more and more Chinese cities have put forward the practice, for example, ecological restoration, ecological circular pattern construction, and ecological way, and so on. So this picture shows you your neighbor, Shenzhen. Okay, the city of Shenzhen has put forward the green cradle and the green network to enhance the sustainability for the city. And then from other provinces and the cities in China, we can find nature reservoir and the national park planning and construction are very hot. You know, nature reservoirs and the national parks are sites for biodiversity conservation. The division of core area, buff area, and experimental area is a new method to take into account education, scientific research, and moderate ecotourism. Okay, so yesterday we found the Longyuan Valley Nature Park is a good site. It's a good site because this park has a very good functions for public education, for some scientific research, even for ecotourism education and so on. So through habitat corridors, either between protected areas or connected with other isolated habitats, it is an important means to tank the adverse effect of habitat fragmentations, such as Qinghai Lakebird Island Nature Reserve was established to protect the birds, such as spot-headed geese and broad-headed goose. Xiangrong Nature Reserve was established in Heilongjiang. In order to protect the complete temperate forest ecosystem, the Changbai Mountain Nature Reserve was established in Jilin province. In Sichuan, we can find the Giant Panda Breed Center in Wolong Nature Reserve has been set up recent years, which is kind of very important way, which is called moving site protection and on-site protection. That the migration of wildlife to the artificial environment or to implement protection. Zoos, botanic gardens, and endangered species protection centers are the means to prevent the directly extinction of species through artificial breeding. And then we have set up some seed bank and gene resources bank. For example, National Botanic Garden and National Greenhouses are good ways for long-term provision of the species genetic resources as a new measurements. And then we have the fifth and the sixth ways, such as restoration of degraded ecosystems and biodiversity monitoring and so on. And we need to pay much more attention to the policy system and legal system construction. Actually, so many national actions, planning, and regulations have been published to support green development and sustainability. Finally, there is a very important conditions, which is called participation. The participation are very important, which is a very good basis for our sustainable society. Okay, as a conclusion, I hope to say, as mentioned above, NBS is an important basis of the green development. It is also the core of nature protection. It should be under the guidance of National Spatial Integration Protection Concept and emphasizes on ecological priority, harmonious coexistence between man and nature. Multi-plane participation, joint and explore multi-plane subjects of environmental management paths promote the beginning development of urban ecological security and green development. Okay, that's all my presentation. Thank you very much for your listening.